Why they're remaking The Lion King for the money and nostalgia. Why they're remaking The Lion King for nostalgia and money. Childhood nostalgia.
Well, this stinks. Oh, sorry. Not you. That. Disney. Remaking The Lion King. How original. What's wrong with that? I can see what's happening. What? And they don't have a clue. Oh, they're remaking a beloved classic. It is soon to be doomed. Oh, the sweet smell of cash. There's nostalgia everywhere, and with all this CGI animation, disasters in the air.
Can you feel the nostalgia tonight?
Hello, fellow geeks, and it is I, Daniel, but you may call me the pop culture dude. And today, it's all about Lion King, particularly the live-action cash grab remake that we were about to watch. That's been presented by Honest Trailers, aka Screen Junkies, who eventually just made their own parody version of it. I'm gonna watch it for the first time when I watch this video. But before I get to that, I am a huge fan of The Lion King. It's my favorite Disney movie of all time, and yes, I even am a huge fan of it. And I remember as a kid, and I still do to this day on, sometimes whenever I have nothing to do, if I'm not busy, I just celebrate my day of watching my favorite movies, and The Lion King is definitely one of them. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of the anime 1994 film. I got both of the 2 direct-to-DVD sequels, the Broadway musical, which is the better live-action Lion King than the remake, and I recommend that one. Listening to all the soundtracks from the original to Rhythm of the Pride Lands to the Broadway to the direct-to-DVD sequels to the 2019 soundtrack to the Disney theme park Lion King celebrations. I watched behind the scenes of the animation and all how they study the animal documentary, the voice cast, and also the music videos that Elton John and Tim Rice that make those iconic songs, and play any Lion King game related activity that was on the DVD menu on the Tuesday special edition, and also those classic, of course, retro games that was made in the 90s and the early 2000s, and of course both of the spin-off series, which is Timon and Pumbaa, Hakuna Matata, Timon and Pumbaa, and the Lion Guard that was recently on Disney Junior, which all of those properties are going to be on Disney Plus, which is going to be on my birthday on Tuesday, November 12th, but also watching everything about Lion King related shows, attractions, and even the events of the theme park. But why do I love The Lion King? I'm talking about the original 1994 superior one, and I'm going to tell you why I wasn't satisfied with the 2019 remake. So I love the film because of its breathtaking animation and a unique, compelling story from very complex characters that are so memorable to me, and also the iconic songs and the music that gives me goosebumps from Elton John, Tim Rice, Hans Zimmer, and Liam Bozem, who basically, of course, influenced African music. And every time my arm, literally my hair always grows every time I get to the nostalgia feels. And there's a reason why I love The Lion King. It's just a perfect Disney movie, in my opinion. It teaches so much valuables about African wildlife. It even teaches me how to speak Swahili language like Jumbo, and basically that means hello in African language. And of course, I really love all the characters, especially I can learn a lot from Simba and Mufasa's father-son relationship, and it kind of that really hits too close to me, because sometimes Simba's conversations with Mufasa is kind of like what me and my dad usually just share a bond. So I think it's a good father and son type of movie. But also the movie taught me so much African culture, but overall the natural habitat of the wildlife of the animals, but also caring for them. Besides, we are all connected in the great circle of life. And that's why it's a significant part of my life, and I rewatch that film when I get through hard times. That's why I learned so many lessons, of course, how much it taught me. Sometimes you just gotta, of course, just remember who you are. And, of course, the past can't hurt. Either you can run from it, or learn from it, or Hakuna Matata. Hakuna Matata! It means no worries. And yeah, there's so many life lessons that I can definitely, of course, learn. Like, being brave doesn't mean you have to go look out for some trouble. And that's what I was saying. Like, there's so many personal value that I can eventually learn from the Lion King. And I love all the characters. I remember most of them. Simba, Mufasa, which is the best Disney father and who's a great role model in leadership, bravery, and strong, but even a much better father than Triton, the Little Mermaid. And then eventually, I love the side characters. Timon and Pumbaa, I'm a huge fan of them. That's why I love Lion King 1.5 and even their animated series, because they're the perfect comedic animated duo ever since Woody and Buzz, or Mike and Sully, or Shrek and Donkey. Like, I just love those guys so much. And the original Scar, Jeremy Irons' Scar, like, his performance always gets me in the chills with a strong motivation as a villain of wanting to rule over the Pride Land, and he's very sly and so evil, and a real trickster, and he's very aggressive and dangerous when you mess with him, but also a very fun, sarcastic personality, like, oh, I should practice my currency. And there's some points that I can just relate to him, like, I'm surrounded by idiots. And of course, there's some, of course, lines that I just can't get out of my head. Because, like we said, every line that Jeremy Irons nailed, there's like so much energy and, of course, so much emotion to it. Like, Simba, it's to die for. And I love all the rest of the characters. Nala, Rafiki, Shenzi, Bonzette. I can go on and on. Why do I love about the Lion King film? But the point is, I'm about to watch the remake, and I was kind of disappointed what it is. It didn't hurt me. I don't think it's the death of cinema, but originally back then I was in like, yes, make more Disney remakes. I want more Disney remakes. Please, please, please. Oh, they made The Jungle Book? Wow. The Jungle Book was a great and amazing Disney remake. I wonder how would they do Lion King, because if they can make it with this CGI technology, I would see that. Until then, after that, they announced Jon Favreau, and then they announced the entire cast. And to me, back then, I'm like, wow, this is such an amazing cast. Hopefully they live up to the original voice cast, and that's why the original voice cast, they don't phone it in, they just live for these roles. Hopefully these A-list celebrities do their roles justice and eventually not shoehorn, or eventually just make their lines feel bland and make sure everything just feels all the magic that captured the Lion King. Oh, I hope the remake is more like the Broadway show, like it retells the story, but guess what? They add some new stuff, like Nala is more developed in the story. She, of course, teaches lionesses how to hunt. We get to Scar's madness, where, of course, when he eventually needs a lioness. The hyenas, they got their own song. Timon and Pumbaa got add a new scene where Timon is on the waterfall. Like, of course, spoilers if you have not seen the Broadway show, but I was hoping the remake's gonna be more than that. Are they gonna include the morning reports, or he lives in you and oh, endless night, or chow down, or Warhog recipe? Like, and if you want a role model, how bad lies the most desperately like use the songs that hasn't been used. You can still use the original songs of Just Can't Wait to Be King, or Hakuna Matata, Circle of Life, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Be prepared. You can still use those original songs. Don't butcher them and don't eventually change them. No autotune like Beauty and the Beast remake did, but also add some new songs that are eventually just, you can create even your own original ones. But after watching the remake, I was disappointed. I remember, like, back then, yeah, it was a little too overhyped, like, too overhyped. Let's recap, like, what was my reaction back then when I was rooting for this remake, shall we?
Oh boy, Tango, guess what? They're gonna be remaking The Lion King. The new Lion King trailer's up. Time to get to my laptop.
Alright, I'm a little skeptical about this, but let's get in with this trailer reaction right now. Oh, I'm just so excited for this. Disney, don't fail me now. Ooh, the Elephant Graveyard.
Life's not fair. Is it, my little friend? While some are born to feast, others spend their lives in the dark.
That Scar? Wow. Like the new look, though.
Begging for scraps.
Kill him! Oh man, this is waking up my Lion King spirit!
Everything you see
Chainsaw
sits
Jones.
together in a delicate
Oh,
balance.
Simba! Zazu!
While others search for what they can take, a true king searches for what he can give.
The King of Fried Rock is playing!
Run away, Simba.
Run away and never return! Rafiki! Timon and Pumbaa! Hakuna Matata. Love tonight.
You must take your place.
This is getting me in the feels already.
In the circle of life.
This is making me roar like a lion. Busa besitamo, busa besitamo, soprano para. We hum bum away. Disney, you take my money right now. I am blown away. I'm gonna order my tickets right now. And then after watching it, I kind of regret it. My hype was a little low after it. Just because the animals did not emote as well. I mean, I get it. They don't have human behaviors. But how can I feel sympathy for these characters if they cannot show any emotion like the animation and the voice cast? I mean, the only good exceptions who really nail their roles is Billy Eichner's Timon and Seth Rogen's Pumbaa. Like, first off, their voices fit for their roles. They bring like so much funny new material in the remake, especially the "Be Our Guest." Like, it reminded me so much of a one joke that was in the Broadway version, but I appreciate the new material. And basically, Timon and Pumbaa in the remake was basically the highlight. And of course, they're really funny, comedic, but also of course, they steal every single scene. And that's what I love about the original Timon and Pumbaa. So I like the remakes easily connected to Timon and Pumbaa. So I got a good job for Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen to like definitely like nailing the roles of bringing new material, like especially after when Nala meets Simba for the first time, which they rushed it. I love the part where Pumbaa's like, "You thought he was dead, I thought I was dead," and it was so weird to hear Seth Rogen's voice, like his laugh out of Pumbaa, like just like with Genie in the Aladdin remake, I expect Will Smith to do his ha ha woo ha, but with Seth Rogen, I expect him to do his laugh, like in Pumbaa's voice. And another role that I also like is John Oliver Zazu. Like, when I first heard this cast, I think he's a pretty good choice with this nice British narcissism and a sense of comedy. And I'm like, when I look at Zazu, when he's had like the white feathers, like accurate hornbill, kind of reminds me once again the Broadway version, especially when I'd be like, "Oh, there's a shadow over there. No, wait, that's my brother." But even though it was so hard to make this burn emote, especially like you can't make the eyes a beak, but it's a good thing that most of these actors that I just mentioned, they really nail the roles. And yeah, I could say the last actor that I could say was pretty good was J.D. McCurry's like young Simba. Like, he definitely like put a lot of his energy and shows and a lot of emotion, while the animals cannot emote. But when it comes to the voice acting, he really nails it. And I think he did a good job singing Hakuna Matata and Just Can't Wait to Be King, even though there's one part where he sounds a little auto-tuned, but I have to take the exception of his singing. The other cast, however, I'm sorry, they just failed, of course, delivering the lines, especially my disappointment was Chiwetel Ejiofor's Scar. Like, I was so disappointed that they did not bring back Jeremy Irons' Scar, and the way that he delivered his own lines, especially from the parts where it goes to the most thrilling ones, because Jeremy Irons is "Long live the king," but in this remake it's "Long live the king," and then in the final battle with Simba, with Jeremy Irons in the original, "Yes, of course, as you wish, your majesty," and then the remake is "Of course, as you wish, your majesty." Like, he just read the lines instead of just like, I don't know, he's just phoning it in with these lines. And same goes for the other actors. Like Beyonce, she's a good singer, but she's not a good actress. Like, the reason why that I like about the original cast, they do a really good job voice acting. Like, they actually show like emotions and conflict, and they feel like they actually care about these roles and take it seriously, instead of just like, I'm just gonna read this off a script and that's it. They don't like even care about it. Because in the original, like, for Nala and Simba, like Matthew Broderick, Maria Kelly, when they have their conflicts about you need to take your place as king, but Simba regrets it, it feels like an actual conflict. But in some scenes, they just feel rushed about it. And with Beyonce, the way that she acts, where in the original, like, "Ha! I laugh in the face of danger, ha 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 ha." But Beyonce's like, "Danger? Ha! I laugh in the face of danger." And I'm like, the voice acting just feels so slow. And Donald Glover, just like the same mistake with Beyonce, good singer, but the thing is, he's a good actor, but he just doesn't like fit for Simba, especially the part where he starts like voice acting when Simba gets scared. They kind of like make adult Simba a wuss, especially when he tries to comfort his Scar, like, "No, Scar, I'm not like you. Like, Matthew Broderick, like, definitely, like, shows, of course, empathy for Simba, but in the remake, he's like, no, Scar, I'm not like you. Like I said, like, the voice acting is just, it's not really, like, pulled off professionally. And what about James Earl Jones Mufasa? Look, I'm happy that they decided to bring it back, but do you want to know why they bring it back as Mufasa as the only original voice actor? Not just because no one can take his place, Mufasa, and his voice is kind of like resembling like a lion's roar. It's the fact that he's African American, and what Jon Favreau did, he took inspiration from the Broadway show to like let the lines be cast by African American actors. But I don't have a problem with that. But recasting Scar with a different actor, I wasn't okay with that. I remember one rumor that Hugh Jackman was going to play the role of Scar, but technically they decided to turn it down on that role, and I'm like, that's what I would have been fine with if they don't bring Jeremy Irons back, even though Jeremy Irons wanted to return to Scar just because he heard the success of Jungle Book remake. And there's some points where they just extend the movie 30 minutes longer just to make, like, I don't know, show, like, we see, like, Simba's mangas go on for 7 and 5 minutes. We didn't needed that. Can we just include, like, a different song, like, Where Do I Belong, where young Simba talks about his drama. Of course, how does he feel bad for where does he have to take his place after Mufasa's death? That should have been included. Or Never Too Late from Elton John. Instead of just, why not include it somewhere in the movie and not in the end credit scene? But instead, they had to use Beyonce's Spirit because she's the popular type. They choose popularity over talent. And the thing is, this movie's not... Sure, I'm not saying they have to change the story, but you don't have to make everything a shot-for-shot remake. Like, it's 90% the same movie, but with CGI animals and with new voice actors, and that's what basically the remake is. So that's why it was only worth it to watch it once, and like I said, it doesn't really hold up to the 1994 from its beautiful animation, the great voice cast, and how well that some of these songs sing, especially how they ruined Be Prepared to a motivational type of song instead of like a fun song that's usually put in. But anyway, let's see what Honest Trailer thinks, and I want to know their thoughts and technically see if they're like on the same page of the Lion King remake or not. I used to support these Disney remakes, but now I kind of regret them because when I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to see what a live action Lion King would be like. But now watching this remake, I kind of take it back because it's for the money and the cash grabs. Because this movie, this remake particularly, is not about, of course, bringing nostalgia and bring everyone back to the theater to watch new versions of your favorite Disney films of your childhood. It's basically selling a tons of merchandise, advertising on billboards, market it on fast food restaurants and Build-A-Bear Workshop, and put it everywhere on Disney Channel TV spots. It's all about marketing and advertising. Disney's trying to make money with these remakes, and that's why Lion King Remake 2019 is the 6th highest grossing movie of all time. Yeah, it outgrossed the 1994 film. But anyway, I've been talking way too long. Let's just get on to the Honest Trailer video. The Lazy King.
This episode is brought to you by Never Surrender, a Galaxy Quest documentary. Learn more at fandom.link/neversurrender.
I'm not paying for that, but thanks for the offer. Let's get into this.
Cinderella transformed a passive heroine into an active hero.
Yep.
Jungle Book crafted
the
a
best
narrative out of
Disney
scattered
remake.
source material. The other ones were
They're
movies.
okay.
Now, Disney's next live-action rehash will update the original by doing the exact same thing. But
Basically,
somehow
it's like,
30 minutes
hey,
longer
can I
and drained
copy
of
the
all
answers
of
from
its
your homework?
charm.
And then just, it's literally the same movie.
Bleak is that?
Like shot-for-shot
The
remake.
Lion King, live action, except
It's
you know,
CGI, but still
animated,
photorealistic
like
animals.
Super realistic.
You get the
know what,
point.
Forget it. Journey to the savannah, deep inside the heart of a CGI render
Kinda like they did with the Jungle Book
film
remake.
that brings animals to life with such
Ugh.
uncanny realism. Someone should have realized early on that this was a bad choice for a kid's musical.
Especially for
since
singing
these
live-action
ultra-realistic
animals.
beasts look dull when they sing.
Especially on Simba's mouth, like it's so weird.
Don't even try to dance.
can't.
And their animal faces can't, you know, act.
Sadly, you can't even see the tears.
I'm sorry, Nala.
Especially Zazu, he's the hardest.
A bird's face cannot look somber. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
This movie turns you into Brian Fellows.
He's starting to make me mad. He better shut up.
Experience the story of Simba the
Okay, that's
Aristocrat
a little
one last
smile.
time. Or at least until execs raise concerns about Q3 2029 revenue projections. He's an entitled fail son who loves to bully his subordinates.
Pouncing.
But when his dad
Oh,
loses
man.
his grip
I
on the royal
cringe at the
protection
Stampede
racket,
scene
he'll dick around in the
for how
jungle
they
for a few
handle
years while the
Mufasa's
women
death.
hold everything together. Then beat his society's permanent underclass back to the ghetto where they belong.
That's the best way to describe it.
It'd play a lot different if we ever saw a lion rip his dinner's
I mean,
guts
the
out
remake
on
was
screen
PG
for mercy,
rated and the
but then
original's
kids
rated
might get
G, so
confused.
I get the
So
point.
much more than celebrities doing a table read of The Lion
Yeah,
King.
basically,
while an
they just
introduct
phone
plays
in the
on music in
lines,
background.
while the original
They also
cast, they
introduce
live
Mike
these
Stick,
roles.
like James Earl Jones,
boy.
who for a guy who's almost 90 sounds like a guy who's almost 80.
Everything that
He
light
sounds
touches
tired when
is
he
our
voiced
kingdom.
Mufasa in this
Billy
version.
Eichner's nihilism. That probably stayed in the final cut because every adult is asleep by the time he shows up.
That's very
It's
true.
no circle. No. It's a line. Yeah. It's a meaningless line of indifference.
Seth Rogen farting. And Beyonce Knowles Carter's many glorious Beyonceisms.
Oh, boy.
Whether it's one of her motivational
True.
Beyonces.
You are our queen. You have to take your place.
Am I the
as
only one
king.
thinking,
This
like,
is your
Nala's face looks
responsibility. You're
weird
not
CGI?
The Simba I remember.
See, the voice
You wanna
acting's
get
just
him?
so weak
You
on
have to
this.
get through us. Are you
When
with
music
me,
artists
Lion?
can't act.
Or some of her inspirational Beyonce singing.
That's what it is. I got so mad where they shoehorned that
The
song
important thing
during
to
when
remember
Simba
is that these
remember
are just
who he is.
observations about Beyonce combined with some light wordplay.
Uh-oh.
They are not. I repeat,
Why am I hearing
not jokes
bee
at her
sounds?
expense. I value my family's safety, and I'm saying this of my own free will. These are
Oh,
here.
the Queen Bee
So
fans.
gather around for another massive Disney self-own, and that all they do is make massive amounts of money
Over
on things they
$250
already
million.
own. That started with a near-perfect film, but grabbed
Yep,
critical
exactly,
failure out of
critical
the jaws of
failure.
success. Like, why would you turn Be Prepared into
Exactly.
spoken word?
Why?
need for a different dream.
Why?
He can sing. Anyways,
Bring Jeremy
anyone
Iron back,
born after
please.
1994 for another spin on the Hollywood Circle of Life, where an original
Oh,
story
no.
is born. Disney adapts
Thank you,
makes it into an
adapts
animated
it.
classic, craps out some direct-to-video
Guilty
sequels,
pleasures.
remakes it with a bunch of CGI for the next generation.
Pretty
watches
much.
butthurt critics decry the state of modern cinema, and laughs all the way to the bank to do it all again.
Remaking The Lion King was a big mistake you done, Disney.
Yes, Disney, we know you're selling us the same
That
ball of
scene
crap
was a
over and
waste
over
of
until we
time.
stop paying for it, but you don't have to rub it in our faces. Starring
Ah.
a cat going through puberty.
Nothing like the
Roar,
Cats movie.
Roar. Destiny's Wild. 12 years in a day.
I get
Let's
it.
go, Lions! Let's go!
I knew the Pumbaa
Last
Rogan
beat
laugh.
tonight.
I see what you did.
I'm Forrest Gump.
Forrest
Well, I'll be a
Gump.
monkey and also an uncle. And avoiding rumors of Timon and Pumbaa being a gay couple by giving one of them a kid. National Geographic presents Beyonce's Lion King.
The new hot album on
This
Beyonce's
movie has
new
a
album.
huge problem telling day and night apart.
You're right. It's not day. It's daytime, not night. Can you feel the love in the afternoon?
It's daytime!
Exactly. That's
Thanks
what
for
they
watching.
don't
By
understand.
Grandpa's Hammer. Click
The song
box
is
on the
called Can You
left
Feel
to
the
learn
Love Tonight?
more
It
about
should
Never
like
Surrender.
sunrise. Well, not sunrise. Sunset and then daytime.
Trailers.
And should be
I'm
it.
bad, and that's good.
Anyway, I'm just done with this. I'm so glad they eventually just pointed out. Look, stupid camera. Hold on. There we go. That's a way better shot. But technically, it's so glad they point out the biggest mistake with Can You Feel the Love in the Afternoon. It was basically daytime. And first off, in the original singers that made the singing voices for Simba and Nala, they sing it so perfectly. But in this version, it seems like Childish Gambino is basically making a cover with Beyonce, and Beyonce's voice was a little too overpower ballad, and I couldn't barely hear Donald Glover's voice when I first heard it. And in the original film, it was a little bit to sunrise, and then it went to dusk, and then it went to nighttime. That's why it makes sense for Can You Feel the Love Tonight? And oh boy, Chitwell to our Scar, like, they ruined Be Prepared. I hate the fact that this new Scar yells a lot. It's like, tenacity spanning, the cage of denial is simply why I... And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is not my Scar. Like, every time, especially when I watch the movie, like, I think of Jeremy Iron Scar in my head, and I'm like saying, they should have just brought them back. But when they mentioned about the celebrity table read of The Lion King, that's what it basically is. They just hired some A-list celebrities thinking they're good enough that they can both act and sing for the CGI animal characters that can barely, of course, emote. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have to give them credit for playing the CGI visual effects of making the entire, of course, world of Africa. It's not set in a jungle, which I kind of wish they could have done that just to make it more amazing, especially just, and then add the CGI animals, but they basically just create their own CGI world, kind of like they did with the Jungle Book. But why did I point out Jungle Book 2016 was a way better remake than Lion King 2019? Because, first off, it does things to respect the source material, but you gotta acknowledge the original. But at the exact same time, you did something different. And the thing is, there's so many changes that they could have done. Like, there's so many callbacks to the original, but sometimes you just gotta make your new version your own thing to it. And that's why the Jungle Book remake works. And the thing is why Lion King remake was such a risk to recreate in live action, because Lion King is more beloved than the Jungle Book itself. And I'm definitely one of those Disney fans. And the one thing is, it's a classic. It's a perfect film. 93% Rotten Tomatoes. The 2019 version, 53% on Rotten Tomatoes. And that's one of the things is that's why I wish Disney could have just learned their lessons and not remake every single film that they eventually do. And that's what I'm saying. Like, since most of these remakes has been successful so far, and of course, yeah, Cinderella at least did something different, but wasn't as good as the original. And of course, Jungle Book definitely proves that you could do something, of course, different. And of course, think outside the box with the Jungle Book, like Mowgli not going to the jungle, and eventually that fight with Shere Khan during the fire. That was pretty epic in the remake. And they only acknowledged like only 2 or 3 songs, like Bare Necessities, I Want to Be Like You, but Christopher Walken singing it. And then after that, we get to the other remakes where Beauty and the Auto Beast, where basically most of the singing characters are doing auto-tune, and they definitely do a shot-for-shot remake. Look, of course, you could still like recreate the original films, but you gotta do something with the Norse material. So don't copy the exact same thing over the original film. And after watching the remakes that I've been seeing, of course, Aladdin was alright. I think the casting of Aladdin and Jasmine are good, but the CGI was okay. It's just that Jafar 2019 was a complete like Will Smith's genie. Blue Will Smith was pretty scary. At least he did try to copy Robin Williams, but he kind of like a little bit put in his own material as well. But other than that, I think it was a decent remake just because, not gonna lie, there were some cheesy, cringy moments that, of course, kind of been like, oh, that was really necessary to be put in. But for Lion King remake, like, it was just almost unnecessary to be made. Like, honestly, I kind of like, if Disney want to like use A-list actors, why can't they just like do something like they did with The Little Mermaid that came on ABC, like a live TV production? Why they can't do something like that instead of just completely remaking a film and with making your own money, make it CGI, put it release in theaters? Why not do it on Disney Plus or make it to the wonderful world of Disney? Like, make TV productions, use your, of course, make it half animated and use these live action actors to play these roles and perform like songs and eventually do something a little bit different, kind of like the Broadway musicals. And that's why when I compare the remakes to the animated films, what's the better quote unquote live action remake? It's always the Broadway productions, because they take creative ways of including the songs, adding some new source material, but still has high respect to the originals as well. And to me, that's one of the things that I just really wish that the Lion King 2019, and I feel so bad for the original filmmakers, like the original animators that made, of course, the Lion King. It was from its beautiful 2D animation from every setting. And I'm so glad when it gets to the Circle of Life moment, it only lasts for seconds, but for the remake, they extended it to make it longer for 30 minutes. I'm like, could you have time to like develop the characters? And that's why some of the scenes just felt rushed, like Simba and Nala interacting, and there's some lines that just feels a little bit off, like James Earl Jones Mufasa, like the pacing of the lines. Sometimes they slow it down, like with Mufasa in the original, don't turn your back on me, Scar, but in the new one, don't turn your back on me, Scar. And then there's some other lines that they eventually just speak it too fast, like Rafiki's like, in the original, you see, he lives in you. But in the remake, it's like, he lives in you. And of course, like with Scar, like I said, he wasn't as bad as live action Scar, but I mean live action Jafar. Why did I say live action Scar? But the point is, live action Scar, I was pretty disappointed that they make him like a one-dimensional, of course, menacing villain, and that's why I was really disappointed by. And as for the hyena, since I never mentioned about it, I like the new origin where basically they, of course, Shenzi's like the leader of the hyenas, kind of like what real hyenas do in a pack. And eventually another complaint, like what the Honest Trailer just said, that the remake actually has problems with the daylight. Because when Mufasa says, everything the light touches of our kingdom. And then Simba asks, what about that shadow? That's beyond our place. You must never go there, Simba. But in the remake, the sunlight is shining in the elephant graveyard and there's no elephant skull. So why call it the elephant graveyard? Kind of looks like that meerkat burrow hole in Lion King 1.5 the last time that I remember it. And that's one of the things, I'm like, the setting of the daylight scenes cannot get it right. And the stampede scene, I'm like, oh boy. In the original, I was like so scared, and I of course couldn't help myself. Was Mufasa gonna live, gonna die? And I actually cried for that just because the stampede of the wildebeest, it feels like millions and thousands. But watching this remake, now that I remember, it just feels less. I'm like, you can easily survive that stampede. Like, it's not really that much of a big deal. Like, it doesn't feel like 1,000 million stampede of wildebeest. It feels like over like 100 or something when I look at it. And basically, from the delivery of the lines of the suspense, especially how the way they handle with the Stampede in 2019, I just felt cringe because it felt really cheesy. Because in the original, Scar, brother, help me! But in the remake, Scar, help me! And eventually, when it cuts to Simba of saying, of course, when he eventually says, no! And like, I was literally just scared because that's the scream of a child seeing his own father dead. But in the remake, he's like, no! It kind of sounds like a cat. And of course, the camera shot just went too fast. Like, over pans. Like, the remake, I'm just, I'm not saying, like, this is not, it didn't ruin my childhood, but they could have done so much better with it. Like, they could have just think outside the box. Like we said, why not choose songs from the Broadway show? And like I said, I definitely recommend watch The Lion King Broadway because that's the way better live-action Lion King. Because there's some new material that's added. Of course, you get to know a little bit more about Scar, and you get to know a little bit more about Nala, and get to know more about what is Simba doing in his life with Timon and Pumbaa, and same for Zazu as well. Like, they developed the characters in the Broadway production way more in the remake, and I feel like most of these roles are basically nil as much as the original animated film. And like I said, in the remakes, they just feel like very nil and stale, and that's why the remake, if you're gonna see it, it's only just worth it watch it once. So if you are attached, if they had to remake your beloved Disney classic films, just remember, the original films are always going to exist. Like, they're not going to disappear of you. If they remake The Little Mermaid, Lilo and Stitch, Pinocchio, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Mulan, I still have the originals. And of course, there's one thing, like, the remakes, they could do whatever they want. They could just be a sellout and a grass grab and grab people's attention. And the reason why I watch these Disney remakes is the sake of nostalgia. And that's why I felt nostalgic over The Lion King and, of course, the Disney remakes that have been happening in the past. And I'm just saying this, I am no longer in the chain of the remakes anymore. I mean, I might give Mulan a chance because it does look promising, of course, to be like less of the fantasy elements. And that's another thing that I could say about the Lion King remake. They of course excluded the colorful visuals and the fantasy effects, like in I Just Can't Wait to Be King or Hakuna Matata, or Be Prepared with the green smoke and all the bright colors. Like, in the remake, it's kind of gone. I mean, I get they're live action lions, and of course, you can't like make animal dance like they mentioned in the Honest trailer, but at the exact same time, you kind of like, it kind of just makes it boring. And the way that they extend some of the scenes just to make it completely like silence, like Simba catching the bug, or how the Simba's made into a lot of giraffe dump. And like I said, I feel like they just wasted the screen time, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And that's one of the things, like, that's why I feel bad for the original animators. And the only good thing I say about the remake is the music. Hans Zimmer is one of my favorite music composers of all time. I'm so glad he came back to make music for the original. He does some things that makes callbacks and like, oh, the feels, I remember that music, but also he adds some new material, like in the final battle of Pride Rock, where my favorite music piece from that action, where Simba and Scar fighting, it goes na 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 na, but when Scar's falling from the cliff, da 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 da, and I'm like, I love the new material that has been given. I mean, don't get me wrong, the remake does a little bit of new stuff added. Like, the only thing I like about the new Scar is his origin, how he gets the Scar. Like, when he asked Mufasa, like, I wouldn't dream of challenging you again. And I'm like, oh, so Mufasa gave him the Scar? That's interesting. The new origin of the hyenas, like, lions and hyenas have been at war since the beginning. And, of course, the hyenas were never friends with Scar. They eventually met him with the first time. And that's basically it. And like I said, I wish that the beginning of the movie doesn't start off with Circle of Life. Like, to me, especially as the shot-for-shot remake, if you compare the 2019 opening to the original 1994 opening, it's literally the exact same animals and the exact same, of course, opening from how the way the animals are walking as the song goes. I would change different animals, and I would not start off with Circle. I can make a whole separate video of how would I remake The Lion King 2019. It should start something like, we get to Scar's origin story from how he got his Scar and why, of course, he's mad at Mufasa, like why he hasn't made it to be king. And to me, I kind of like the subplot where he tries to marry Sarabi. Kind of reminds me in the Broadway show. Like, take deleted concepts from the 1994 Lion King film and put it in the remake. Like, for instance, like, put in the Warhog Recipe, which was a deleted song in Timon and Pumbaa, or when Pumbaa sings, when I was a young warthog, or Timon's story, like, when I was a young meerkat, that was addressed in Lion King 1.5. And that's what I'm just saying, like, use a lot of creativity. Do not copy the exact same thing like with the original, but they could just make it soulless. And like I said, with the lines, there's some lines that I say keep that dialogue because it's very important, and of course it easily reminds of the original, but sometimes some of the original lines you can change it just to make it a little bit different at once, and that's what I'm just saying. And like I said, there's so many things that they completely exclude from the original. Like in The Lion King with Rafiki, the one thing I just didn't like about this new Rafiki, he had wisdom, but he lacks personality like the original. Like, and the one thing that they definitely like scrapped off after the remember who you are, they scrapped off the past. I'm like, why did you cut off that message? That was like one of the most important parts of the movie. Like, the past can't hurt if you could run from it or learn from it. And they cut that off, and then they just rush it in and shoehorn Now Spirit. Why not choose the original Fusa Vesitamo Sumparumpara, or choose He Lives in You? Because that song was from the, I mean, that's only one song I had to give the props for He Lives in You, that was in the Broadway show, and then in Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, and also Rhythm of the Plier Lands, which is a soundtrack that's inspired by the Lion King. And one of the things that they also could have done is like more acknowledgement of course, more of those songs that hasn't been used in the original film, or neither, of course, any single of other productions as well. And that's what I'm saying, the remake has so much missed opportunities that they could have done. Like we said, sometimes you just gotta like think outside the box. But anyway, that's all I had to say, because The Lion King is my favorite Disney movie. It's been 25 years of the franchise, and basically, I will send a link in the video of one YouTuber who basically make a 25th anniversary tribute, and I really loved it because that's how you celebrate a franchise over 25 years. And I just want to do it because before Disney Plus, and I have a lot of videos in this channel that I definitely have to make. But like I said, hey, if there's another Disney remake, that's of course, if it's either going to be good or bad, just, of course, you gotta let the past behind you, and of course, sometimes you just gotta live in a philosophy for no worries. So basically, Hakuna Matata. Hakuna Matata! Anyway, that's it for today's video, guys, and hopefully, of course, this has been a pretty long video, but that's all I have to say for now. Now, will you excuse me? I'm about to go rustle up some grub.
In the jungle.